Yeah, but like Stocky Boy actually made the exact same points as I was making. How Iconic kept their games up, why Killer Clowns became the way it is, and how Halloween's actually... Well, he actually made a bit more points than I do. I forgot to mention, but apparently some people on Twitter were saying... what Stocky Boy was mentioning about how Halloween was a really popular franchise, someone came in and tweeted his tweet saying no, Predator Hunting Grounds was... Or Predator was like the most popular.
Yeah, well,
But then...
I mean,
But
maybe.
then you bring up the box office, and Halloween franchise still has way more than Predator franchise.
Yeah.
Here's
And then,
another
well, I
thing
mean,
to
Predator
note.
has
Here's another
like
important thing to note. Predator Hunt when the Predator Borderlands, whatever, I think I said that right.
Predator what?
Borderlands or Broadlands, some kind of new movie.
Badlands.
Badlands. Yeah. When that movie came out, it was like the PC. It was like PC type of, not PC. It was like rated PC something. I don't know, but it was like basically a theater. So it had like 10,000 people went to theaters, thousands upon, and watched
Yeah.
it. Now
Yeah.
Halloween 2018 was rated R, which means it wasn't in theaters. It was only in homes, like where you could watch on Netflix or something. And it still made way more box office than Predator. That is
Yeah, I
crazy.
know. Yeah.
That's a good point he made. The popularity.
Yeah.
And eventually, when and then the people that keep saying that Iphonic's back because of what happened to Killer Clowns, he actually made the exact same points I said. They weren't involved in that game's development until midway. There was a completely different publisher. Oh man, I'm so happy
nowadays.
that when I first watched
nowadays.
when I first watched his video, I didn't quite understand it well. But then after I did a lot of research about Iphonic games and what happened to each of the game, the pieces are finally plugging together. I'm so happy I rewatched it because he actually made the exact same points as I did. But here's what's fucking crazy though. Despite Stocky Boy literally explaining about Halloween's popularity compared to the other games, and
Oh, I did not mean to do GTA. Oh my god.
And what happened with Killer Clowns, like even he explained that it wasn't really Iphonic's fault. Even after he explains the entire story, people still go on to his comments and still type, "Oh, the game's gonna flop because guns in it. Oh, and Iphonic's not even better. They killed off Killer Clowns." Like, bro, did you not watch the fucking video? Oh my gosh, man.
Yeah, Gun Media is definitely not.
Well, I mean, Gun Media, I can't defend them. I don't think they're that good. Like, I heard what happened about Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I wasn't sure if it was true, so I did some research. It was developed by Sumo Digitals, and it was published by Gun. And I did some research about what happened to that game, and it turns out there was some game-breaking bugs. Like, for example, there was an overheat bug. Overheat, where you play as Leatherface and a chainsaw. Yeah, and a chainsaw overheats all the time, and it made people not want to play Leatherface. And then there was another bug where when the victims use these doors and slam, close them, it was...
I mean, you would have to know how to time the leather. I mean, I did it really well. I mean, like, yeah, it's annoying when you overheat or but if you time it right.
Ignoring these bugs that the community has been wanting fixed is one thing, but there was a live stream, and I actually looked into their live stream, and there were some TCM fans that were commenting. The TCM fans commented in their live stream saying, "Apologize for not fixing the bugs," and literally the dev said, "What are we apologizing for?" Like, that's crazy. That is fucking crazy. And even they were talking shit to their community. So like, ignoring the community is one thing, but talking shit to them?
Wow.
Yeah, that's not good. And Gunmia actually lied about what happened to TCM. You know how they say that, oh, they're not updating it because they fulfilled their vision they believed? Well, it turns out Slasher Radio did an interview with the CEO Gunmia company, and he actually explains the reason why they stopped supporting TCM was because all of the developers left and they couldn't fund anybody. And they just made up the excuse of fulfilling their vision.
Wow.
They fucking lied to their player base. Why did you lie? Like, okay, if you
need a lie, like,
yeah, like, so like if you can't support it, at least tell us truthfully why. Like that was their fucked up, bro. So yeah, I don't really trust Gunmia, but Gunmia's title is unfortunately on the Halloween game, but they're only co-publisher though. They came in pretty late during the development. They weren't there since day one of the game's development. They came in like 2 years later after that. And then co-publisher is like an assistant. They're basically helping with funds and marketing.
Yeah.
And some people were like, oh, well, if they don't do funds and company, then they'll fuck up Iphonic's funds and the game will stop. Well, co-publisher is assistant to main publisher. So if they did backed out and left and abandoned the game and Iphonic, then Iphonic will just have to do the fund themselves. It's not going to stop the game. It might slow it down a little bit because they're main developer too, but it's still not going to kill it. Gun leaving is not gonna. That's not enough. Iphonic calls the shots. Oh, and John Carpenter has been involved in this game's project since day one too. We got John Carpenter, and we got McKenn's aide. I forgot his full name, but McKenn is involved in it too. They are the both IP license holders since the very beginning of the first Halloween film of 1978. So yeah, not only that you have Iphonic involved in this game project, but you got two of the biggest license holders involved too. So there should be no lawsuits like what happened to Friday the 13th.
Yeah, well, we can hope.
Well, I'm confident that this game will succeed. I'm very confident it will, because you got Iphonic, you got Iphonic that support, you got developers and publishers that did supported their game for years. Sure, they screwed up a bit with Killer Clowns, but that wasn't entirely on them. It was already a fucked up regardless. Imagine if Iphonic,
yes, it was.
Imagine if Iphonic didn't came in after the previous publisher left. The game wouldn't be released. And if it did, it would be delayed more. And if another publisher came in, the game would already be a mess anyways. But the worst part, though, at the same time Iphonic had to do Killer Clowns, they already have the IP for Halloween. So it was really a bad timing that happened. It was a really bad timing, and they either have to choose to turn down the IP and give it to someone else while they work on Killer Clowns, or accept it and put all hands on deck, which that's what they did, but abandon Killer Clowns for a couple years and then come back later to support it. And that's what they did. They did exactly that. They left Killer Clowns to the main developers, because they weren't main developer, they were main publisher, but they did left the game to work on Halloween, and they did confirm that it's having ongoing support. So the best idea they would do is finish Halloween game and then come back, and hopefully they'll support Killer Clowns more.
Again.
but faster and bigger. Because now they're done with the project. It takes years, bro. It takes a lot of time and a lot of employees to work on a game. It's very different compared to updating a game. Updating a game doesn't take much. And they only have 127 employees in their studio. They're not too big like Behavior. Behavior's got fucking thousands of employees. They can literally work on 3 game projects and still update Dead by Daylight. Like, literally. Iphonic is not as big as Behavior, because they're not really not. They're not as successful as Behavior, but they do make good games. I don't play them besides Friday the 13th, but they do play them. And dude, you want to hear what's crazy? People say that Friday the 13th was already dying before the lawsuit hit it. And it's like, bro, what the fuck are you saying?
No. Okay, if that would have happened, then why would they be doing DLC and then you getting pre-orders before the game even released, you get Savini?
That's exactly what I was saying. Like, if Gunmio actually wanted to leave Friday the 13th, we wouldn't have Part 4 Jason, Mitch Floyd, Jarvis House, Part 5, Victoria, Pinehurst, and we wouldn't have the upcoming Uber Jason coming out soon. So that is what they're saying was complete bullshit.
Yeah,
It was
that
complete
is
bullshit
such a
that they were
lie.
saying. People nowadays need to do research, because if they don't, then they'll end up spreading misinformation. Then the game dies because those people believe those misinformations, and then when the game does die, they'll blame the devs instead of themselves. Literally, I'm serious. That's why I'm worried. Now, at least though, if worse comes to worse, if worse actually comes to worse and the game does die because people spreading misinformation and not doing research, then we have at least single player mode and a story campaign.
Yeah, I don't know, man. They're stupid.
That, or we have a bunch of Halloween fans, like Friday the 13th, that was very loyal to their game, that played that game to death until at the very last day of it in 2025. We might actually have the same for Halloween, except it won't die because there should be no lawsuits. So that might be the case as well. But yes, I'm confident that the game will succeed, and I'm not going to let anybody say otherwise, because I have done a lot of research. I've done a lot of research about the entire history of the games. Yes, I don't trust Gun. I don't blame them for that, but I trust Iphonic more. Yeah, I know Iphonic made a mistake. Like, here's the thing: Iphonic made mistakes. Behavior makes mistakes too, bro. People be saying,
but they didn't fuck up like big time.
People be saying that Behavior is the better developers than any in the whole world. Bro, they made mistakes too. Look what happened at the Walking Dead update. That was a fucking disaster. It had game-breaking bugs. Dude, they're not any better than Gunmia. Gunmia, when they talk shit about their community, Behavior did the same thing. At the Walking Dead chapter with Riggs, there were hackers.
Yeah.
There were hackers filling up the lobby slots, and it was causing the spectators to come in and hack the game. They couldn't play custom game with their famous content creators because of that. And then the most famous content creator, Offstarva, suggested an idea to the Behavior employees, saying, fill up my people with spots so that the hackers can come in. And they literally ignored him. They say, no, we're not doing that. They literally ignored him. So is that any better than Gun? Like, that just tells me Behavior is about the same thing. Iphonic, the point being here is that Iphonic never talks shit to their players. They don't truly abandon their games. Yeah, Killer Clowns was a fuck up, like, no doubt. But that's not, I don't really believe that's Iphonic's fault, because Saki Boy, as he mentioned, it was already a mess to begin with. There was like the fans were disappointed because when they released a gameplay trailer about what Killer Clowns was supposed to be, it was supposed to be a game where you either like have to help the NPCs and there should be cops involved where you can fight them as Killer Clowns. Yeah. It was supposed to be like that, but the developers ran into functioning problems because of that development. And Iphonic, when they came in, like the main publisher, Good Shep on something like that, when they didn't like what was happening, and they decided to pull the plug and stop funding the developers. So like the game was gonna get shut down and canceled until Iphonic stepped in and did help. They did support them as main publisher. Now they had to scrap the entire system though, so that's why the gameplay came. Like, when the game first released, it turned out to be completely different compared to the trailer. And people blame that shit on Iphonic. Godly, bro. Like, you cannot be dumb. You have to do research, my guy. Like, seriously.
Yeah, like, they were just not...
So that's my worry. My worry is that people are not smart enough to actually do research and understand what happened. Yes, are they still pissed about Killer Clowns and waiting for years? Sure, yeah. I mean, if I was a fan of that game, imagine if Halloween came out, and if there was another IP, and they didn't support it for years, even though they say they were, I'd be pissed too, no doubt. But if they're actually going to keep that promise, they will support it after Halloween. If they don't do that, then I might question Iphonic a bit. But if they do, if Iphonic actually did keep their promise and did support Killer Clowns with good updates and good balance changes and good bug fixes and good content after the Halloween game is fully released, then that's true that they did keep their word. Then they actually do care about their games. So we'll see. I trust iPhonic a lot, and with a bunch of resources, I trust them a lot. But we'll see if iPhonic actually release Halloween, which they will, and if they do support Killer Clowns in their other games more, I fully trust iPhonic. And people that are saying that, oh, they're a shit company will be completely wrong. But we'll see. We'll see. I looked at the devs live stream. About the Halloween game. There were some questions about certain things. There were questions about like what content they drop and how was development going, but there was one of them said, what is their next, like, because there's some people that are saying, there were some people I saw in the comments saying that iPhonic is not going to support Halloween after release because they say because they say that after 1 year after Halloween's release they won't support it because they have a 1 year plan, but there's no evidence to back that up. There's no evidence. So I went to the live stream to see if I can confirm if what the commenters, what the guy is saying is true, and one of the audience asked iPhonic developers a question. Once Halloween's release, is there another IP they plan to work on? And they say that they don't have any plans for now, and if they do, it would take a lot of work. So they say that they stick with the games for now. So like, there's no truth, there's no confirm if that's true or not. We don't know yet. If they do actually support Killer Clowns after Halloween, and then support their other games like Predator Hunting Grounds and Ghostbusters, if they do all of that after Halloween, then they actually do care about their games. Because as of right now, I believe that the reason why they haven't updated their games that much is because they've been full focused on Halloween that they didn't have time. Yeah, they didn't have time to update their older games. They were so focused on Halloween. And then the people are like, oh no, that's not because of why. It's because they just abandoned it in another catch cow bullshit.
Yeah, people know it.
Like people now, like the people cannot be this dumb. Like you cannot be this dumb.
I know.
You cannot.
I'm not even that dumb.
Like I know Behavior, they're bigger. They have a bigger studio. They always drop a content every 3 months. We always get new characters, like new Survivor, new maps. Like we get all of that. And then like a month after that, we would get like updates and bug fixes and all that shit. Behavior do. But they did some major fuck-ups. Don't act like Behavior's perfect, bro. They did some major fuck-ups. The sweet list bug. No. There was a bug about a perk sweet list where you get infinite charges. And they claim that's not enough to kill switch it. People wanted to kill switch it. And they say, no, it's not enough game breaking to kill switch it. It literally cost the people that outrage to cause them to kill switch it. That's their major fucked up. That and the camping and tunneling changes. They completely released a mechanic that was so easily abusable by Swifts that they had to scrap the entire rework. They promised us that they would stop their content and then focus on Operation Game Health. And they fucked that up too! So I mean, Behavior's not perfect. Now I get that studios, I mean every game developer, every publisher, every game developer, every studio period, we're gonna make mistakes. We're not perfect. There's gonna be mistakes that they make. But when they repeatedly made a mistake and act like, oh, it's nothing matter instead of correcting it, that's a big red flag. And Behavior proves that. Behavior and Gunmia proves that to me. iPhonic hasn't though. iPhonic hasn't. If they did promise they updated and fulfill it, I trust them. So, right now, but yes, there's definitely a lot of misinformation going on. I just hope that people will understand that the reason why Killer Clowns flopped was because of the mess it had before iPhonic came in, and why they haven't updated their games for a while because of how they were so focused on Halloween the game. That, like, literally. And then people be like, oh, that's an excuse. Well, we're about to find out if that is or not. Because if they actually do update their games, then that proves me right. That proves me right. way, like here's the thing, even with Dead by Daylight being very good, there's no way you're gonna kill Dead by Daylight. Dead by Daylight is pretty much unkillable because it's got so many licensed characters in that game. It's way too popular. Like there's no way.
Yeah.
The only way DBD is gonna die is if the developers and the community say fuck it. Basically, if the community. Like if the developers did abandon it, which they didn't, because they will drop content every 3 months, or if the community just say fuck it and stop playing the game, period. It's the same. That's my worry, because Halloween the game. Because imagine if Iphonic did release Halloween, and then they update their older games, and then they come back to Halloween and drop it. But imagine if nobody plays that game because they think that, oh, Iphonic's a piece of shit company that abandons their games and they don't play it. Well, then the game dies because of the community. Not the devs. That's literally a you problem. That's the player's fault and not the devs. There's a difference. There's a difference between dropping the ball on purpose versus accidentally dropping the ball.
Yeah.
For what Gunmia did about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, they dropped the ball on purpose. What Iphonic did with Killer Clowns, though, they dropped the ball on accident. It was a hard choice. There's a big difference, and people just don't understand that. People don't like it. I just hope that the Halloween game don't die because people believe that, oh, Gun's the main developer and publisher, and oh, Iphonic's not any better, and they abandon, and then they don't buy it. Then the game dies because there's not enough players to actually play and run the game, and then when the game dies, they'll be like, oh yeah, that's the developer's fault, and not themselves. That's what I'm worried about. And then they repeat that shit with the other games. That's what I'm worried about too.